Hello, good afternoon. I'm Tanya Krishna from Financial Express Online. Today we have with us Mr. Sanjit Singh Randhawa, who is Managing Director of Bacardi India. Welcome, Mr. Randhawa.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure is ours. First of all, we'll start with India as a market for a liquor brand. How do you see India as a market for Bacardi specifically?
Well, Tanya, you might be aware that Bacardi has been in India for now more than 20 years. We started our factory in Karnataka near Mysore way back in 96. We started and we started production in 98. So it's been a long journey in India. Bacardi is committed to India as never before. India is in the top 10 markets for Bacardi globally, and it's now in the top 5 emerging markets globally. It's Russia, India, China, Mexico, and South Africa. And India has been growing rapidly. India as a business for Bacardi globally, we are the second largest for Bacardi rums, second only to US. So that's the extent of the importance of India, and we are the largest market for Bacardi anywhere globally for our Breezer line of RTDs. And India will continue to remain a priority market, particularly going forward, not just for Bacardi rums and RTDs and our premium white spirits, Grey Goose, Bombay, etc., but more importantly for whiskies. And we have placed a big bold bet on whiskies in India. So India is for us is both a growth market as well as an emerging premium market.
Yeah, but while the potential is huge and India is a great, revenue, liquor is a great revenue generator in the country. What's your take, if anything, you'd like to share around the taxation policies or government policies around this business when it comes to liquor?
So, listen, we operate within the regulations and protocols as laid down by the state governments. And that's something that, as any responsible corporate citizens, we will always respect. But I would like to see some degree of liberalization around the alcohol policies in the country. You know, ideally, it would be great if the state governments could get together and we can come up with something of a uniform excise policies across states rather than have different policies across different states. It should still be a state subject. We don't have a problem with that, but it will really help the businesses simply in terms of ease of doing businesses if there was a uniform kind of approach to alcohol policy. And the second would be e-commerce, and I think e-commerce is still it exists only as home delivery in 3 states in the country, in Odisha, West Bengal, and Maharashtra, and that is still minuscule. So e-commerce is something that we would like to see opening up for Alcobev in India. Of course, with the requisite guardrails that are required for regulations, particularly how do you restrict the sale online to underage people below legal drinking age, or how do you have the other controls in place? And I'm sure over the next couple of years that those guardrails can be set up and e-commerce can become a big play. So I think policies would have to move in that direction.
You mentioned about the e-commerce, the online delivery. So there are few states that's allowing online delivery of liquor and alcohol. So how is that working for Bacardi? And is there a percentage, in terms of what kind of business comes from?
It's still very, very small, Tanya. It is still very small. I mean, it's nothing much to write about. It's so small, and it was particularly important during the lockdown periods when consumers could order online and have it delivered home. But as a share of the total business, it is still very nascent and very small. So, I mean, there isn't much to speak about there. And as I said, it's only in 3 states, in Odisha, in West Bengal, and in in Maharashtra, where it is allowed as home delivery from the retail shops to your home. So
But still, it's not
yeah,
online
yeah.
shopping per se.
It's not really online shopping or e-commerce, as you say. It's not as if you can log into a website and order your stuff and it get delivered. No.
And talking about the business at Bacardi India, how was it affected during the pandemic? There was a complete lockdown, and the stores were shut. And what were the pivot strategies, and how did Bacardi bounce back?
So last 2 years of the pandemic, and you would know that the biggest restrictions were during the summer season.
Right.
April to June, where we had the biggest first wave and then the second wave, and following that the lockdowns and curfews. So those really impacted our RTD business, which is very summer and seasonal. So our breezer businesses was seriously impacted. We had to then pivot our focus to our other portfolio that we had with our Bacardi rums and with our whiskey portfolio particularly, and focus our work towards in those states that allowed it home deliveries, to focus towards because there was also the restrictions on the on-premise, so you had premium white spirits suffering a bit. So I think, but off-trade became big once it opened up. While the continued restrictions continued in the on-trade, but the off-trade with the retail shops became our focus in terms of ramping up our businesses there. Because that off-trade was also feeding into another trend that emerged through the pandemic. That was the home consumption or the home entertainment, as you call it, and that was something that was quite remarkable to see people wanting to party, but party in smaller groups at home, not going to an outlet where there are 500 people, but having a party at home with 10 people and wanting the same kind of experience which premium products like our portfolio could give them. So that was how that pivot had happened. And, so emerging from the pandemic, you saw, you saw the continuing trend of premiumization, which started before pandemic, but that trend continued. And two was the home consumption, emerging as a big part of alcohol consumption in India. Now, as we close the last fiscal year, I think our businesses are back to pre-pandemic levels.
And if we, when going back to the impact of the COVID, can you give me a percentage on the impact on the business, overall business at Bacardi?
So as I said, the not percentages, but the business impact was largely on breezer for the first 2 summers that we lost. But in the second part of the year, we've come back. And as I said, we've come back to not just pre-pandemic levels, but we've come back to above pre-pandemic levels. So we've closed the last fiscal year at double-digit growth, even versus fiscal year 1920, which was pre-pandemic. So that for us is encouraging, because it just gives you an indication of the strength of our portfolio, so that even if one part of the portfolio is not serving the occasion because of the restrictions, the other part of the portfolio was emerging as a strong focus area. And so that strength of the brands and the portfolio came through. So we are in a pretty decent space, I would say, to emerge the last fiscal year stronger than where we were pre-pandemic.
And you mentioned few trends around at-home consumption or premiumization. So can you elaborate more on the trends that's being witnessed in the liquor industry currently, and how is Bacardi working around it, for, I don't know, leveraging these trends?
So the trends, as I said, were you looked at premiumization, which is something that had begun to emerge in India even before the pandemic. And because the young consumer today is saying that I will drink less, but I will drink better. And therefore, brands such as our portfolio serves that need, that, you drink better, you drink less, you're not drinking to get drunk, but you're drinking to enjoy with your friends, and enjoy the experience in the right kind of environment. So that's a trend that is continuing. And that's something that is very encouraging for, I think, the Indian market and for brands that are there to serve that trend. The second trend was, as I mentioned, the home consumption. And alcohol consumption at home is emerging to be less and less of a taboo than what it was 10 years ago, and particularly in the metro cities, etc. I mean, there are enough, I'm sure, in your friend circle as well, where people are more than happy to sit at home and enjoy a drink. So that consumption, and then therefore, when you're drinking at home, you are able to afford something more premium. So this home consumption is further feeding the premiumization trend, because you're not paying the bar prices or the high-end restaurant and the high-end outlet on-premise prices. You are able to buy a bottle from the retail and consume it at home. And what's emerging is that consumers are wanting to learn more about cocktails and how to make interesting cocktails at home. And that's where the third trend feeds in, the digitalization that's happening.
Okay.
Digital has become like the second language to the consumers, and people are going online to consume content, not just about a brand, but also about, cocktails that can be made at home and drinks that can be served to guests at home. So that's, again, the third kind of trend that's happened, that's feeding into this whole thing. And then because there's consumption happening at home and because it's less of a taboo, you're actually beginning to see more women consuming alcohol, particularly again in the metro cities. And what's helping in that is another trend that is emerging is the entire modernization of the retail stores. And you see the kind of stores emerging today, which are not just hole in the wall that they used to be, but really brightly lit, big stores with nice shelving, the brands are visible, consumers can walk in, pick up a bottle, read the labels, make an informed choice. So, the consumer is king. And that's that's a really interesting trend that's happening. And that's emerging again and feeding into this entire overarching trend of premiumization, because the consumer has a wider choice. And the last thing that I'd like to touch about is also the convenience angle. Convenience, so you're getting convenience packs like ready to drink. You've got now cocktails in a bottle or cocktails in cans coming out. So feeding into this whole convenience thing, I mean, I want to be able to buy something and consume it immediately if I can. So that's the other trend that's emerging.
You mentioned about the cocktails in cans and bottles. So ready to drink cocktails is the new trend. So it has, the Bacardi Bacardi offering these ready to drink cocktails?
Ready to drink is something that we invented in India, if I may say so, going back to 2002 when we launched Breezer. I don't know if you're aware of it. Ready to drink did not exist as a category in India prior to that, and we pioneered that category in a way that is ready to drink, Breezer and Bacardi. And in the last fiscal year, we brought in Bombay Sapphire Gin and Tonic. So you can get a great tasting Bombay Sapphire Gin with tonic in a can, and there will be more that will follow for sure.
Definitely. So, not talking about the advertising and marketing side of it, while there are quite, there are restrictions basically against advertising and marketing for liquor. But there are digital channels and social media that has opened up new avenues for liquor brands. So, how are you using these platforms to promote Bacardi products or Bacardi as a brand, and how is it working for you?
So, first and foremost, let me say that we have within Bacardi our principles of responsible marketing that we follow, and the first and foremost would be that we would always follow the guidelines and the advice that is put out there by the regulators, such as the government and the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and even ASCI. So those are followed religiously. Digital social medias are avenues of not just, I wouldn't say advertising, but more of engaging with the consumer through content that is put up by the brand or even by independent content creators. And the digital consumption is growing day by day, as I mentioned, and that's something that is interesting, and that is something where we will be present on digital platforms for sure.
Bacardi has been from the very beginning doing a lot of events, social gatherings or parties, if I must say, and that promotes the products a lot. So, and there has been, complete lockdown or restrictions around these events for the last 2 years, and now Bacardi has come up with its weekender event. So how are sentiments around these events, and how important are these events for Bacardi?
So, first, how important are these events? It's it's the experience that we offer the consumer to engage with the brand in the right kind of environment where, for example, the Weekender provides a very interesting platform for music and for young musicians across India who we have given a platform for them to come and perform. So it works at both levels, being able to give that platform to artists in India, but also to have a great festival where consumers can come in and enjoy the experience. And it's a 360 experience. It's not just about sitting there and drinking. It's about enjoying great tasting cocktails, but also enjoying the atmosphere and the experience there with the music around. Uh, it's important. It is the Weekender is a big platform for us. Music is a big platform for us for brand Bacardi. But as you said, during the pandemic period, it's not that we were absent. We went virtual. I mean, we went virtual with Weekender. And I can tell you that even at a virtual event, it was amazing to see 21,000 people log in to consume a Weekender virtually. As I said, we were even during the pandemic, we were virtual with our events. So that's something that we never went away from, even during the worst periods. And now that we are back with events on ground, as I mentioned to you at the beginning, I mean, it is amazing to be in Pune on the ground and see the kind of atmosphere. And I actually had consumers walk up to me and say, thank you for bringing Weekender back. It's great to be back on ground. The vibe was amazing. And we pulled off a great event with not a single person reporting back sick or something, and because we had all the guardrails in place, the restrictions, the precautions were all taken, and we following that Pune event with smaller Weekender events across multiple cities. So that's again emerging that it's good to be back. So as we said in our tagline for the weekend, whatever makes you happy again.
Right. I think the consumer sentiment right now is such, they are looking for such occasions, such events where they can just get out. It's frustrating being locked inside their homes for like 2 years now. So definitely
It is critical that along with having the events post COVID, we have to continue to be responsible in the way we host our events, and that is something that we will always make sure the necessary precautions, and not just in terms of health for the and safety of our consumers, but also in terms of sustainability, and that's something that we paid a lot of importance at our events. And in simple things like saying that we will not use plastic, for example, we will not use, our glassware at the events are made from rice husk, which is very interesting. We recycle all the garbage that comes in that's collected. And we make arrangements for these things there. So that's something that is very central to whatever we do.
interesting. So now moving on to the new products that Bacardi may have come up with in the last 2 years or recently. tell us about these new launches or new innovations at Bacardi.
The innovation will always be a key part of our strategy. So even right through the last couple of years, we've not stopped on our innovation work. Uh, we launched a new flavor for Breezer called Watermelon Mint last year, and it's doing reasonably well in the markets that it has been introduced, and we will be introducing in all other markets now. We also launched another range of Breezer using natural fruit ingredients. So we're calling this Breezer Bliss, and we've got two variants out there. One is juniper lime, and the second is lemon iced tea. So those are two innovations that have also followed through. We've expanded our martini portfolio with our sparkling wines. So now we have the full range across most markets in India with Asti, Prosecco, Rosé, and Brut. And we also introduced Martini Fiero a year and a half ago across key markets. And as I mentioned to you, we're expanding our premium RTDs with Bombay Sapphire Gin and Tonic was introduced just 6 months ago. And in the whiskey space, we continue to expand our portfolio. We have Dewar's white label whiskey, but we also have the complete aged range of Dewar's whiskeys with Dewar's 12, 15, 18, and 25-year-old. And we have William Lawson's whiskey and William Lawson 13 in select markets. But it's not just there. We went further and launched our malts. And we already had Aberfeldy 12-year-old. We expanded it further to Aberfeldy 21, and we brought in Altmore 12 and 21. We are getting ready to bring some more malts to the country in the months to come. So there's a lot of expansion that has happened. Today we sell probably the most premium dark rum portfolio in the country with aged dark rums. In India, which is traditionally thought of rum as being dark rum as being cheap and harsh and strong and not premium, we are changing the codes of that too. With we launched Bacardi Quattro, which is a 4-year-old aged rum, and then we launched Bacardi Ocho, an 8-year-old aged rum, and Bacardi Diaz, a 10-year-old rum. And these are really at super premium prices. But yes, it's interesting to see consumers reach out for that as well. So a lot's been happening on the innovation space. And then particularly of interest would be that we have for the first time launched something that is made specifically for India. And we forayed into the premium Indian brandy space with the launch of Goodman Brandy, which we launched in select southern markets of Kerala, Karnataka, Telangana, and Pondicherry to begin with, and we will expand it to a few more states by the next fiscal year. Early days yet, but the brand is getting a positive response from the consumer in these states. So a lot's been happening on innovation.
Right, interesting. So, what percentage of your overall product range, your overall portfolio in the country is produced in India? And except for these two products that you launched this March, are there more products that's being made for just Indian market specifically?
So for Indian market, as I said, we launched the brandy. And there's not much more I can tell you at this time, but definitely that is a space of interest. To be in the premium Indian spirit space. And as I said, we are manufacturing in India, but we also import some of our products. So there's a nice balance of both, where our rums are all manufactured in India. The Breezer portfolio is all manufactured in India, but our premium whiskeys that we import, those are imported, as is our Grey Goose and Bombay Sapphire and Martini.
And around your expansion plans going forward and growth projections, can you give us a few figures around those? What are your plans in that front, your future outlook?
Yeah, our ambition is to grow 5x in the next 10 years. And that's a big ambition. That's an ambition that we all swear by now in the Bacardi India team, and we are committed to. And to achieve that, it will mean that we have to continue to grow at pace and continue to innovate. and therefore there will be a continuous investment behind that agenda. So it would be, we would continue to invest behind all our brands. We would continue to invest in building organization capability across whether all our functions, whether sales, manufacturing, marketing, HR, finance, across. So an investment behind people will be there for sure. So expansion will continue. That's not something that is something that is fixed and has been done and dusted with it. That's a continuous journey.
So when you say expansion, we are expecting product launches or?
Yes, as I said, innovation is a key strategy. So there will be newer products. The consumer is demanding, and the consumer is looking for new experiences, and we should be ready to serve that.
Sure. And can you give me a figure around the kind of investment you're planning to fuel all this?
I don't have a figure right now for you, Tanya. I'm sorry, but as I said, it's we've been now in India for almost 25 years, and it's been a journey where there has been continuous investment. I've also told you that we are in the top 10 priority markets for Bacardi globally, and in the top 5 amongst emerging markets. That itself is a testament to the belief on the India story and the need to continuously invest and grow in India.
Right, great. I think that was all. Thank you so much, Mr. Randhawa, for taking out time and for such insightful information around Bacardi India and what's happening with the brand. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.